Your financial net worth is equal to the sum of the financial value of everything that you own minus the sum of everything that you owe. If you were to add up the financial value of your cash, your bank accounts, your investment portfolios, your cars, your homes, and basically everything that you own, if you then subtract the amount of money that you owe from your loans, credit cards, mortgages, etc., when you do this, you'll know your financial net worth. This knowledge is useful for a variety of reasons. A big reason is that as you put a financial value on everything that you own, you begin to get an idea of how much financial influence you have. Money is a powerful influencer that's used to inspire people to do things for you and to give you things. You, of course, influence people with money by giving them money in exchange for whatever they're giving you in return. With the money that you have, you'll buy things. If you buy a house, for example, and the house is valued at $500,000, knowing what someone might be willing to pay for the house, you now have an idea of how much you can eventually influence people to do things for you and to give you things. If you needed to, you could sell the house and receive approximately $500,000. After paying any taxes and other fees that you might owe, you'll be left with a good amount of money, and you could use that money to buy things that you both need and want. The amount of money that you have after selling the house is essentially the amount of financial influence that you have. $500,000 is a great deal of financial influence. However, the trouble is you would no longer have a house. With that said, selling may or may not be the best idea for you. And the good news is there are other options. You could borrow money from any bank or any lender, and you can use that house as collateral, meaning you can get the loan, but you'll have to be certain that you can repay the loan, because if you do not repay the loan, the lender will be allowed to take your house. As long as you're able to keep up with your loan payments, you might choose to borrow money and use this house as collateral. After paying any fees that you might owe from setting up the loan, you'll be left with a large sum of money. And again, that sum of money is essentially the amount of financial influence that you have. You can use that money to influence people to give you things that you need and want. In this example, you knew the value of your house and you were able to use your house to access money, but you can use anything that you own in order to access money. You can either sell what you own or you can use what you own as collateral for a loan, in the same way that you might use your house as collateral for a loan. And with that said, there's yet another way to access money, thanks to the fact that you know your financial net worth. Because you know the value of things that you own, because someone else knows the value of things that you own, another person might be willing to rent something that you own for a period of time. As an example, you can rent your $500,000 house to someone for a year, and you might ask them to pay you $4,000 a month for that 12-month period. Without selling your house, you will have still managed to make money from it. You can rent anything that you own to anyone who wants to rent it. For this reason, it's useful to know the financial value of the things that you own, since that value will determine the amount of money that you can receive. What is the financial value of the things that you own? What's the financial value of your house? What's the financial value of your clothing? What about the financial value of your jewelry or the financial value of your car? What is the financial value of the things that you own? The answer is subjective. The answer is just an opinion. You might believe that the financial value of everything that you own is $200,000. Someone who has a greater appreciation for the things that you own might suggest that the total financial value of everything that you own is $400,000. Meanwhile, another person might be of the opinion that your valuables are worth $100,000. Value is not a fact. Value cannot be proven. Because of this, it's important to explore what value even is. Value is simply the usefulness of a thing or of a person's skill. The value of your home, for example, is that it shelters you from nature's elements. It keeps you dry, it keeps you warm, it creates privacy for you, and allows you a space to relax. The financial value of your home is usually tied to the size of your home and the number of rooms that it has. Large groups of people may agree that a home of a particular size is worth a particular amount of money at a given time. Large groups of people may observe the size of your home and decide that this year your home is worth $500,000. When this happens, it's relatively easy to sell your house for $500,000. But what if your house is special? What if you found a buyer who is willing to pay you $600,000 because your house has sentimental value to that buyer? For their own reasons, the buyer really wants to buy your house, and this person's willing to spend more money in order to influence you to sell them the house. The question now is, since you have this offer at $600,000, is your house now worth $600,000? The answer is, your house is worth $500,000 to that large group of people who agree that it is worth $500,000. Meanwhile, your house is worth $600,000 to that one buyer who wants to make sure that you sell the house to them. If you were going to sell your house, who would you sell it to? You might quickly assume that you would sell the house to the highest paying buyer. And in fact, this is often what happens, but there are also times when the highest paying buyer does not feel like the best buyer. You can sell to anyone you want to sell to. You might decide that someone else is more deserving, or you might not like the highest paying buyer, or you might just prefer that the house go to someone else who does not have as much money, but who clearly loves the house. They very much value the house, and you know that they will take extraordinary care of this home that has been so good to you for so long. Value can be tricky because value really is just an opinion. The value of a house to you might be that it is a place to raise a family. Meanwhile, the value of a house to me might be that it is a place to throw parties without disturbing neighbors. You as a family person with other expenses might want to pay less money for the house. Meanwhile, I as a single person might not mind paying more for the house because I happen to have less expenses than you do. Value is tricky, but people tend to manage this delicate topic by considering the price that they think most people would agree on. With that said, some people just know that their belongings carry additional value. These people will not care about what anyone thinks. Instead, they will set the price that they think is correct, and they will not accept anything less than that price. It may or may not take them longer to sell, but the time it takes to sell is not relevant because they know the real value of their belongings. The real value of your belongings is what you're able to experience and do because you own those things. As an example, if you're a contractor and you own a power drill, you're likely to know all about the vast uses of that power drill. Meanwhile, I, as someone who knows almost nothing about building things and repairing things, I may only find a few uses for that same power drill. The value of the drill is greater for you than it is for me. You might be willing to spend $200 for that drill because it will allow you to work more quickly and receive money for your work more quickly. Meanwhile, since my income is not affected by the power drill, I'm not likely to think it's worth it to spend $200 on that drill. It's not going to help me make money, so it's just going to cause me to spend money. If you were going to sell that drill, you would probably want a great sum of money for this thing that can enable a person to make great sums of money very quickly. Meanwhile, because I do not know how valuable the drill really is, I might sell it for significantly less money just to make a quick buck. It may or may not take you longer to sell, but the time it takes to sell is not relevant for you because you can continue to use the drill to make money while you're waiting for a buyer who's willing to pay your price. Since human beings have different needs, different desires, human beings will not all agree on the value of anything. Groups of people with similar life experiences and with similar beliefs may be able to find agreement on the value of some things. But with a person who has had different life experiences and who has different beliefs, there will be quite the debate about the value of those same things. Given all that, there are a few conclusions that can be drawn. Your financial net worth is just a person's opinion about what the financial value of your belongings must be. If you want to use your financial net worth for the sake of borrowing money, you can use your belongings as collateral. Your lender will lend you an amount of cash, and the amount of cash that they give you will be based on what they think is the current financial value of things that you own. If you were to get a mortgage or a home equity loan, for example, a bank will likely send an appraiser to your house to determine the financial value of your house. The higher the appraiser's assumption about the value of your house, the more money the bank will be willing to lend you. Same goes if you choose to rent your house. The higher the assumed financial value of your house, the higher the rent you can charge for someone to occupy your house. Also, when a buyer guesses the financial value of any of your belongings, the higher they think the value is, the more money they will pay you when you sell the house or any of the other belongings to that buyer. Finally, and perhaps most useful to know, the financial value of anything is simply tied to the level of appreciation that a person has for that thing. The more you appreciate a house, the more you'll be willing to pay for it, as an example. Appreciation is just your understanding of the value of a person or of a thing. Because you know the value of that person or thing, you have resulting feelings of satisfaction. That feeling of satisfaction is appreciation. The more satisfied you feel thanks to your appreciation of anything, the more you're going to want to have that thing. The more you want something, the more you're going to be willing to pay for it. And the same goes for anyone. If you ever want to sell something, it's a really good idea for you to have a genuine appreciation for that thing that you're selling for two reasons. The first reason is that your genuine appreciation of that thing means that you really do not need to sell it in order to be satisfied. The lack of need that you'll have is powerful and it's influential. Your satisfaction, thanks to your ownership of your valuables, means that you're all set. When someone observes you and your satisfaction around something that you own, they will want to experience the same satisfaction. They'll be willing to buy and pay greater sums of money for this thing that you have. And the greater a buyer's appreciation of your belongings, the more that buyer will pay for your belongings. You can influence a buyer's appreciation with your own appreciation of your valuables. The more you appreciate things that you are selling or renting, the more others will appreciate, want, and spend to take ownership of things that you are selling or renting. This has been a brief opener on the topics of financial net worth and value. There's a great deal to think about at this point. What financial net worth do you want? Why do you want it? What will life feel like when you have it? What's the value of your belongings right now? How can you further appreciate and use the things that you already have? Who is willing to buy things that you own, and who is willing to pay a higher price for the things that you own? This is a subject worth exploring and continuously learning about. The more you learn, as you apply what you've learned, you'll maximize your financial net worth. Have fun with this one trip. It's quite the ride. Sending good vibes.